right, we are back with the Move Worthy podcast, episode 11, with Jenny
and Lauren.
And today we're going to go through questions. So Q&A day at the Move Worthy podcast. We're going to go through a list of questions that we have and try to give our best answers. Facts and opinions, I'm sure, but a little bit of both.
Educated guesses.
Yes, educated guesses. That's what we do here.
That's right.
But hopefully, these answers, you might have these questions, and these answers might help you in your home buying, home selling, investing process. So, we'll get started?
Yeah.
All right. If I wanted to buy a house in cash, would it still be smart to use a realtor, or can they even help me?
Wow.
I was going to say, Lauren, I'm going to let you take this.
So I'm coming to y'all live with my sexy voice. With this winter storm in southeast Louisiana, my body doesn't know how to react. So I'm a little under the weather. But regardless of whether you're financing a house or paying cash for a house, that really has no relevance on whether you need to hire a realtor. Realtors are there because they are educated beings in the real estate world.
Professionals.
We're professionals.
This is what we do every day.
Yes. This is what we do. It has nothing to do with the financing side of a real estate transaction. That's where a lender comes in,
right?
Not a realtor. A realtor is going to guide you through the process, make sure you're tackling everything legally, ethically. That's our job, is to hold your hand through the process, tell you what's next, tell you what to expect, meet your deadlines, do what you need to do in the best interest of your purchase or your sale.
Right. Essentially drive you through the process.
Right.
Whether cash or financing,
yeah.
Your inspections, even writing the contract,
yes.
The negotiations, the terms. What do you want? What do they want? There's so much.
Do most buyers know that you should be putting a due diligence period on a contract? And do most buyers know, without an agent's advice, do they know what that really means? So yeah, I definitely think regardless of what type of financing you're doing, and I think this question probably comes into play because of the buyer agency.
Because of the changes.
Because of the changes that are coming in. So, they think because they're paying cash, it's going to be more cash out of their pocket because they hire an agent, but that's not always a thing. Mm-hmm. I think that's another question that we might touch on here that we saw, is that, just because you're hiring an agent as a buyer, it doesn't mean that you're coming out of pocket more money.
Correct.
There's ways, that's what the agent's there for. They're going to negotiate that for you. They're going to work it in to where it works best for your situation. So, no, You definitely should get an agent.
I agree. And did you know, little off note, that in some other states, I don't know how many do this, you have to pay the seller to pull the house off the market to do inspections. I know for sure it's like that in Texas.
Really?
So when you make
an
offer,
know that.
You have your earnest money, which I don't believe it's that. It is a inspection fee. So you offer, and I guess a earnest money or your deposit.
An additional deposit.
It's a percentage of the sale price, probably. That is a rule of thumb. But yes, so my niece is in Austin. She's a realtor, and she said you have to pay to be able to do your inspections. Plus, you have to pay for your inspections.
Wow.
So imagine being a first-time home buyer, because that's where these questions are coming from.
Mm-hmm. And
you have this question, do you need a realtor? And you're in another state that has something like that. And you have no clue. Your offer's not getting accepted.
Right.
Unless you offer something to the seller so you can do your own inspections.
Wow.
Yes. Isn't that
crazy?
Interesting? And we don't
Very
have that here in Louisiana.
Not yet.
I do know for sure it's in Texas. I don't know where else. But yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I know. So yes, we're a lot of these questions. There's a few in here that say, do I need a realtor? Guys, yes, hire someone to do this job with you.
Yes.
I wouldn't say for you, because it's a collaboration. So always consult with a realtor. And if you find out it doesn't work for you, then it's fine. Yeah. But definitely take advantage of all of your opportunities and options to make sure you can get through the process safely.
And that comes to another question that we see often. Can I fire my realtor?
Oh, that's coming up. You want to just skip to that one?
Yep, let's skip to that one.
Okay. We'll skip to that question. It is in the list. I fired a client once. That was kind of fun. Okay. Can I fire my realtor after I've signed a contract with them? Long story short, the process isn't going how I hoped it would, and I found someone else I'd rather work with. All right. So already it makes me feel like there's quite unanswered questions first.
For sure.
So are you already in a contract?
Right.
That's one thing. Are you just looking at houses and decided you're not happy anymore? But simple answer is
yes.
Yes.
Yes, you can fire a realtor. However, I will say this. If you are working with a realtor and you really don't feel like it's going like it should, I think it is super important to be transparent.
Absolutely.
Just up and deciding that you want to go with another realtor because you think that it's going to work better for you doesn't always happen. The grass is not always greener. Have you sat down with your realtor and said, hey, this is what I thought, this is how I thought it would go. Why is it not going like this? This is what I thought would be happening. Why is this not happening? Why is this happening instead? Be super transparent because there may be things that are happening that are going to happen with the next realtor. And you just don't know that that's not the process or is the process.
It could be you, not the realtor.
It could be a miscommunication.
Communication
is key.
Huge. It's it's a relationship.
Absolutely. So, while I think any buyer or seller has a right to fire a realtor, and of course it has to be done correctly regardless of the contract, as long as the process is in writing and there's a clear understanding that this is the end of our relationship, yes, it can absolutely be done. But give that realtor the benefit of the doubt first and foremost, because I'm sure at whatever point you are in the game, they do have a lot of skin in it. They've done work, they've done research, they've spent time,
yes.
they've earned money at the end of the day to some degree. So yes. Make sure that you're being super transparent with your agent as to what your expectations are and feel comfortable about what their response is. And if their response is still not what you're looking for, then yes, maybe it is time for you to part ways. Because look, there's good agents out there and there's really bad agents.
Right.
I mean, it happens. Look, it absolutely happens.
Yes.
But that's kind of just what my advice would be.
Yeah, communication is huge. I mean, it is like, think of your personal relationships.
Mm-hmm.
If you are thinking something's not going your way, are you just going to hold it in and then just walk away? Or are you going to open up those lines of communication and just say, hey, this isn't working, or like you said, this isn't how I expected it to be. Can we talk about this? Can we make it better?
Yeah.
Give the agent an opportunity to fix their mistakes because they may not know, or they might be busy. I mean, it happens. Life happens. So
I've been in a situation. I've been fired before. I had a listing on a market for a while. There was an expectation from the seller as to what the price point was, and even though I thought that the price point needed to be a lot lower, and I was very clear about that. There was pushback, so we went the route that he wanted to go, and nothing was happening. And I did my best to explain why it wasn't happening. At the end of the day, he felt like I wasn't doing my job. I was fired. He hired another agent, listed the house for the price that I suggested.
That always seems to happen.
And it sold.
Of course.
And do you know I got apology letter after apology letter after apology letter.
Did you?
I did. After that, and I think just at the end of the day, there has to be an understanding as to what's going on. And of course, the client does need to feel comfortable with their decision in their agents, but it's
the trust, though.
It is.
Like, trust me, this is my job.
This is my job.
This is what I do
every day.
I look at these numbers.
And don't ask me why he trusted me and not the other person. I don't know what they said to convince him otherwise. But I wanted to do exactly what the other agent did. And at the end of the day, I went through a lot, like 2 years of work, because this house had to be gutted and remodeled, and I went through a long process that I just never made it to the end with. So it sucked. It sucked
Right.
big time. So, but I think that transparency is key. Expectations need to be very clear, and
Yes, I agree. And that happens a lot. I've seen that happen so many times. I think it happened to me. Listing expired. During the listing, I was trying to get them to lower the price to a certain number.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, the next agent picked it up, listed it where I was
Mm-hmm.
or where I wanted to be, and then that even expired. Then I tried to pick her back up in that expiration period, and she continued on with that agent. I think it eventually sold for maybe 10 or so less than that number was.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so frustrating to say, hey, because hey, I said that.
Right.
I'm still doing a great job.
Right.
I just need you to be willing
Yeah.
to work with me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're here for. We're not.
Yeah.
We don't want. I mean, we'd love to sell your house for $1 million, but at the end of the day, if it's only worth $500,000, we're going to be honest with you, and that's the best we can get.
That's right.
So.
Yep.
All right. Next question. I'm going to keep going through this list. Let's see. Do you want me to keep going straight through? Because how about this one? Has anyone got their real estate license before buying their first home? Is that a recommendation?
Oh gosh. While everybody probably should have some education in real estate,
On selling a house, yes.
No. No, that's why you hire an agent. You hire an agent to do that. Unless you want a career in real estate, there is absolutely no reason for you to go out and get your real estate license just to buy a property.
Just to buy a property. I mean, the amount of time it's going to take you to take the test.
Not only that, the money
that you spend, your board fees, your
licensing,
super
everything.
Key, your insurance, I mean, the list goes on. I mean, why would you spend all that money?
You're going to spend more getting your license than you would if you would have just paid a buyer's agent.
Correct. And it depends on price point, but even
and time.
Still.
Oh yeah.
Hire someone. I mean, whenever you need to go to the dentist, do you think to yourself,
Do I need to become a dentist?
Become a dentist to clean my own teeth? Like, no, you're gonna go and you're gonna hire. You're gonna go pay someone to do that.
Yeah.
It's a service industry. We serve.
Yes.
So let us help you. Reach out. If it's about money, let's have a conversation. Let's see what we can do for you. Let's see what we can negotiate in these offers. I think this is a great question, but definitely not necessary. Like, unless you want to become a realtor.
Yep.
Unless you want this to be your full-time job.
Yeah.
Because again, I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that do real estate part-time, but I mean, I think about this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My clients, it's like your children almost. You have to constantly be thinking of them, working for them, responsible for what they want to do at all times.
Yep.
So unless that's what you want to do, I would not suggest it.
No, definitely not.
And not saying that I don't love my job, because I do. I find it very fulfilling. But it is a lot of work. It takes a lot of patience and a lot of education, constantly, because everything is constantly evolving in this industry.
Yep.
Let's see. I'm going to go to this FHA question. In the case of FHA, is the appraisal ordered before the underwriting process, or does it happen in parallel, or is this lender specific? Now, we're not lenders. We are realtors, but we definitely know the process once you get, and not just FHA, in any loan process, what that looks like from start to finish. So
I think I think it can be very lender specific, actually, because there are some lenders that will fully underwrite a buyer before they even give an approval. So while a traditional process is that the appraisal comes before underwriting, there are some situations where they will underwrite pending appraisal. So you're not completely out of underwriting, but underwriting has gone through every other step except for appraisal.
So,
but a traditional process, yes, appraisal comes before the underwriting process. They go through your offer, they get you approved, they check all your income and your assets and your credit and job employment and all of that first. Then you go through your inspections. Then the lender orders appraisal, and then it goes to underwriting. But like I said, some buyers that may be a little more trickier, or some buyers that even just request it.
Correct.
Like, I want to know right
If
now, I'm
100%
good to go. I don't want to get to the underwriting process and there be something that I need and I don't have, and then I can't get through that, and then I've spent all this money on inspections, and I haven't an appraisal, and I can't get approved. Yeah. So there are situations that it can happen that way, but it is not your traditional process.
Right. And while those things can happen in the underwriting process, a lot of the lenders that we work with do a really good job of getting as much information up front. When they're doing their approval. I mean, you have someone you work with that gives can do a full approval up front.
Yep.
So that way, when they write their offer, they've already been looked at, more than just a qualification, and they know that they're good to go with that contract. And definitely, when it comes to order the appraisal, we usually do inspections before appraisal. But I have had, when the market was changing, I had a listing.
Appraisal up front.
Appraisal first. We had the listing. They wanted the house, but they were like, "Man, this price seems a little bit higher than what we're used to seeing," because things were changing. So we did the appraisal first, and if it didn't appraise, and if the seller didn't meet that appraisal price, they were going to refund the buyer. That was all written into the contract. Yeah. Another reason why you need a realtor.
Yep.
I mean, you would not think of that unless you had been through a situation like that.
Yep.
And had that experience.
Yeah.
But yes, we wrote it in just like that. Appraisal first. If you don't meet the appraisal price, if it doesn't appraise, you pay for it and everybody walks away.
Yep.
The seller agreed, buyer agreed. It ended up appraising, and we sold it. We went through inspections after that. It was a fairly new home in that subdivision off of River Road in St. Rose.
Okay.
And we didn't think anything major would come back, and nothing did. But it worked out perfect.
Yep.
So there's situational things all the time.
All the time.
So having that knowledge and that experience to get through some tricky situations like that is why you call us.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, let's see. Here's another realtor question, and I like this one because it's written a little bit different. My husband's work colleague is selling his home. It is not listed with a realtor. He's asking $135,000. Do I still need to contact a realtor myself to buy? How do I go about buying this house without costing us a significant amount of extra money neither parties want to spend? I've never bought a house, and this is my first time even going down this rabbit hole. I would appreciate any and all advice.
Yes.
Call a realtor.
There's nothing worse than a transaction between a buyer and seller where there is no educated representation.
Yes.
I mean, there are just so many things that buyers and sellers don't realize are even part of the equation until they're on it and it's too late.
Until they're in the middle of it.
They're in the middle of it and it's too late.
100% regretting their decision.
Yes.
Yes.
And you know what, truthfully, at the end of the day, your buyer's agent is going to help you negotiate those costs, whether it means make it up in the price of the house or split it with the seller or have the seller do it all. There are ways to work around those expenses for both the buyer and the seller, but you need somebody that knows how to do that.
Yes.
I mean, there's just too many things, too many legal things I don't think that buyers and sellers realize, oh, wait, what? I need to sign a waiver of retribution? Like, I don't even know what that is. Are you, how
An inspection period?
An inspection period? Wait, I could have had 12, 20 days to do all of this stuff and now I'm past that or didn't put that in my contract. Yeah, hire an agent.
Yes.
Just hire an agent. They will make it worth your while. I promise.
Yes. It's almost like inspections. I'm like, they're worth their weight in gold.
Yes.
Even if you get through the inspection, you've spent $500-ish and you decide you don't want to buy the house. Well, you might have saved yourself $12,000 by backing out of that contract because
finding something major.
Yes. Same thing with a realtor. think about, I mean, I never thought about that until now. Think about us in that light. We are there to help you not lose thousands and get a great deal and get through your inspection period and get through appraisal and get to the closing table legally. Everybody's happy, not coming out of pocket tons and tons of money, because let's face it, while everyone thinks that it costs so much money to hire a realtor, it's really not. Like, sit down with someone and have that conversation, talk about your price point, talk about what the fees are for a realtor. In the grand scheme of things, it's really not that much when you look at the problems you could run into.
And would you not want a voice between you, your husband, and his coworker?
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you really want to be the one to say, no, Mr. Coworker, I'm not doing that, or we disagree. Now we have to go to work and look at each other's faces all day long. Right. Whereas if you had a realtor in the middle of it, it's the realtor speaking, it's the realtor giving the advice, it's the realtor handling that conversation, that confrontation, any of it. Yeah. They are the ones that are dealing with it.
Right.
And you don't become, these, and I'm not saying all transactions turn nasty. I'm not saying that. But there are things that have to be addressed in a real estate transaction. And if you're not the one that has to address it, all the better.
Right. And it can be a very emotionally fueled process.
Yes.
That's where things start to get a little crazy and heated, uncomfortable for everyone. So when we're involved, you don't have to be on that front line. We're on that front line.
Yes.
So I think it's very, very important. While they might be your colleague or your family or your friend, people still have a tendency to maybe change a little bit in a process like that when it comes to
just get emotional.
Just emotional, yeah.
React on emotions.
Leave things out, not fully understand. I mean, there's so many things, but I guess the emotional part of it is what we see the most.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
I've seen some pretty rough ones.
Yeah, Jenny and I have talked about this several times. We get to a closing table and it's like you kind of rethink all of the things that you went through to get to that process, and you also think about some of the things that you didn't tell your client happened, or to the degree that it happened to, because at the end of the day, you're not going back to your client saying the buyer or the seller was dirty and acted like this and acted like that. As long as your client is benefiting from the process still, and you still have their interest in mind, saving those little knick-knack, paddywhack things are a huge part of keeping the emotions removed from the transaction.
Yes.
For sure.
Absolutely. They're definitely 100%. So many things that happen at that in that process, and then at the closing table. I've been to one that was just awful, and I felt so bad for the buyers because it was just such a stressful process for everyone. And then I've been to the ones where everybody's friends and they're exchanging phone numbers.
Yeah.
So, and that's how we want it to be. So it's almost like you said, check your emotion as best you can, but then that's our job too. Yeah. Is to diffuse
unnecessary crap.
Exactly. Absolutely. Well, that is all we have for today. We still have a good handful of questions to get through, so we'll probably hit this on another episode. But this was fun. These questions popped up, and I said, let's go through this list. This is interesting. So, check back with us every Monday at 10 a.m. This was episode 11 Q&A. This is the Move Worthy podcast with myself, Jenny Lendle.
And Lauren Jones.
And together we have the experience to move you forward.